Borough filters are being sold as a replacement to Berkey. It looks exactly the same, but apparently they've made a number of improvements to make it better than Berkey in similar products. But is it actually better? Well, I recently got one and tested it out, so I'm going to tell you all about it, and I'm also going to show you my own independent lab test results of how well the system removed contaminants from my water, so stay tuned to find out. Now, if you're thinking about buying the Borough system, at the time of recording it costs $300 with 2 filters or $400 with 4 filters. So you get a slightly better deal with the 4 filters, which will save you around $40 compared to if you bought the filters separately. Now, the only real benefit of using more filters is if you have a big family or you simply want a faster filtration rate. So if we compare that to similar systems, the Royal Berkey, which is the closest Berkey in size, costs over $100 more. The Pro 1 Big Plus with 2 filters is around $20 cheaper, and so is the Alexa Pure Pro, but that's just with 1 filter. So you can see that Borough is on the higher end compared to a few other competitors, but it's also not the most expensive. When we talk about cost, we also have to consider how expensive it is in the long run, since you know you'll eventually need to be replacing the filters when they get used up. With 2 filters, the Borough Legacy supposedly costs just 1 cent per gallon to maintain, assuming each filter lasts to the 6,000 gallons the manufacturer claims they can filter. Now, I'm going to talk more about those capacity claims in just a minute, but first I want to show you what Borough have improved on to make their system better than Berkey. It's got the same basic design as all the other stainless steel gravity-fed water filters, so doesn't require a power or plumbing connection. There's only one size available though, with a 3-gallon filtered water reservoir at the bottom, and it's 23 inches tall and 9 inches wide, so it's pretty big. It doesn't require an invasive install, and the assembly process was relatively quick and easy. The spigot is stainless steel and ceramic rather than plastic, which ensures the filtered water isn't coming into contact with plastic when it's being dispensed. And the rubber base on the bottom reservoir is formed to fit around the spigot seal, which eliminates the risk of accidental leaks if installed incorrectly. One of the biggest complaints about Berkey systems is that the bottom of the filter is always sitting in a little bit of water when the top chamber stops filtering. Borough addressed this by bumping the metal up a little bit where the filters are installed and also adding a larger plastic bracket to the filter elements themselves. This way, when the water stops filtering, it's only the plastic base of the filters that's sitting in the water, not the filter media itself. I also noticed that the upper chamber fits into the lower chamber a lot more tightly than other systems. And the filtration rate is decent. It came out to 0.75 gallons per hour in our testing with 2 filters, which makes it pretty similar to its competitors. I did notice that the unit filtered the first half of the top reservoir pretty fast, but it got slower and slower as the pressure decreased. But this is typical of these types of gravity systems, so I can't really call it a setback of this product in particular. For all they've done to improve on the design, there are still a number of things that unfortunately weren't addressed. First, and I know this is a big one for many folks, the filters are not capable of reducing fluoride. Now, I had a chat with a couple of folks at the company, and they're apparently working on separate fluoride filters, like you've probably seen with Berkey and other competitors. I actually suggested that they incorporate media capable of fluoride reduction into their foundation filters to avoid both having plastic filter housings sitting down in the filtered water, and also eliminate the need to purchase separate filters at an extra cost. So the unit's size makes it difficult and time-consuming to fill with water from some kitchen sinks, including ours. It took me 2 minutes and 19 seconds to fully fill the top reservoir using a pull-out spray handle. While this isn't exactly a deal breaker, I found it kind of annoying to stand around holding the handle rather than just turning on the faucet and walking away. And I also noticed that since the lid doesn't have a handle, when it's flipped, it can actually hit and cut off part of the top of the filter elements. And while assembling the system itself is easy, priming the filters can still be a nightmare. It's the exact same process that Berkey filters require, and if you don't have a compatible faucet for the blue filter priming tool, you have to use the tan priming washers, which is hands down the worst filter priming process I've tested to date. I know that priming is one of the biggest complaints with Berkey, and I had really high hopes that Borough would have addressed this issue. Now, I also mentioned I was going to talk about their filter capacity and lifespan claims. I want to make sure you know that the claimed filter capacity, 6,000 gallons per filter, is a claim for chlorine reduction only, so it's a bit misleading. If we look at their lab test report, you can see the filters have been tested to reduce chlorine up to 6,000 gallons, but if we look at other more worrisome contaminants, we see it's only been tested for a few hundred gallons. For example, the filters have only been tested to 200 gallons for some pesticides, herbicides, and disinfection byproducts, 250 gallons for some pharmaceuticals, and 400 gallons for common PFAS compounds. At least they were tested for lead reduction up to 4,000 gallons at a low pH, but that's still 2,000 gallons gallons less than what they're advertising the filters for, and it's only been tested to reduce lead up to 450 gallons at a higher, more alkaline pH. I think it's super important to clarify that the 6,000 gallon filter capacity is for chlorine only, and the filters may be less effective at reducing other contaminants before that. Now I'm going to show you my own real-life lab test results, but make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're interested in seeing water filters put to the test. So we lab tested the Borough Legacy with our treated, shared well water in Colorado. I used a lab service called TapScore, which detected a whole bunch of contaminants in our unfiltered water. Uranium, chloroform, copper, and fluoride were all present in concentrations above the health guideline levels, so of course I was the most concerned about these. The post-filtration tests showed that the Borough filters completely removed barium, chlorine, chloroform, copper, molybdenum, and uranium, and strontium was reduced by 79% and nitrate by 71%. My only real disappointment was that fluoride, one of the contaminants detected above the HGL, was only reduced by 11%. However, keep in mind that Borough doesn't claim that their foundation filters reduce fluoride, so this slight reduction was just incidental. If you've watched any of my other product testing videos, you'll know that there's oftentimes some sort of unexpected result detected, and for the Borough filter, 6.9 micrograms per liter of cobalt appeared in the filtered water where it wasn't detected in the unfiltered sample. The most probable hypothesis is that it came from the filter media, and while it's a small amount, it still exceeds the health guideline of 2 micrograms per liter by 240%. So should you be concerned about cobalt? Well, according to the handbook on the toxicology of metals, people consume between 5 and 50 micrograms of cobalt daily through their diet. It's actually helpful in low concentrations, playing a beneficial role as part of vitamin B12, which is essential for human health. And according to the CDC, there are no adequate studies available on the oral toxicity of cobalt or cobalt compounds in humans and animals over a long period of time. But this 2012 review in the journal Regulatory Toxicology and Pharmacology suggests potential adverse effects from chronic oral exposure to cobalt, as including effects on the immune and reproductive systems, cardiovascular, and endocrine responses. So the health protective levels for cobalt in drinking water were established in response to acute exposure studies, where this heavy metal was found to have adverse effects on the blood system and thyroid. If you're concerned about the health effects of cobalt or any other contaminant in drinking water, consult with your physician. Now, if you're considering buying the Borough system, there might be a few deal breakers for some folks or specific situations. The first is that it isn't currently performance certified. It has third-party testing done by IATMO, which is a great start, but that doesn't offer the reassurance of official performance certifications. That said, the manufacturer told me that they're in the process of obtaining certifications through the WQA to NSF-ANSI 42 for particulate reduction and NSF-ANSI 401 for microplastics. This would give Borough the edge over its competitors because for some reason, none of these other stainless steel gravity-fed filter manufacturers are getting their systems certified. But at the time of recording, the Borough system isn't certified, so if you prioritize certifications, then this currently might not be the best option. It's also not good for emergency preparedness, as it shouldn't be used to filter untreated surface water that's microbiologically unsafe. And finally, if you want to reduce fluoride or any other contaminants that the foundation filters haven't yet been tested to reduce, you're probably better off with something else. So despite the addition of cobalt, the system provided strong contaminant reduction for many concerning contaminants in my water. Now, I'll be interested to retest the system after a longer period of use to see if the cobalt issue persists or not, but I think the Borough system is a good choice for a few specific use cases. If you've been a Berkey customer in the past and can't get filter replacements or are looking to upgrade, the Borough system is a great option to consider. They've done a lot to improve on the overall design and address many of the common customer complaints, and will hopefully soon have a few official performance certifications. The Borough foundation filters are also compatible with many other stainless steel units, so you don't necessarily need to buy an entire new system. Now, I wouldn't recommend this water filter currently if you want to reduce fluoride or have limited counter space. Like I mentioned, this one is pretty big and takes up a lot of room, and like other gravity systems, it takes a long time to filter, so if you need quick access to filtered water, you may want to consider a system that uses pressure to filter the water, like a direct connect under sink filter or a countertop RO. I've tested a number of those types of systems, as well as other popular stainless steel gravity-fed water filters, so if you haven't seen any of those videos, stick around and keep watching.